And we are live. I'm welcomed in the studio with Kelly. My name is Bradley Jacobs. I'm our founder and CEO at Mylance. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, of course. I'm excited to be here. Have a good chat about consulting and the freelancer world.
Yeah, definitely. So just give our audience a quick overview of you, quick work history, what got you here today.
Yeah, how can we fit this all into a quick little overview? I guess like high level, I'm Kelly from Chicago originally, have lived kind of all over New York, California, currently live in London. I've been here for the last 3.5 years. Work-wise, I started as an industrial engineer, worked in manufacturing as my first job out of college, and ended up in the Bay Area, thankfully, where I worked at Uber. Which was a life-changing transformation, as Bradley knows, where I met Bradley. Then got the kind of privilege of working at Snapchat on their Spectacles product as that was going to market. And then moved over to London to work at one of the 10 fastest growing startups here called Pollen, during which time I started my side hustle of consulting and, kind of dipped a toe in the water of what it was like to kind of work on my own terms and make an impact in the way that I saw the best way to make an impact, really, rather than fitting into somebody else's job description. It's been a really fun ride, and Bradley and the Mylance community has been really supportive throughout.
Awesome, glad to hear. So there's a lot to unpack there. Let's just start with what brought you to London.
What brought me to London? Well, at Snapchat, they sent me, I lived in LA at the time, and they sent me to New York and London to do launches. And I love both of the cities a lot more than LA. I know a lot of people love the beach. I'm a city girl, born in Chicago. They kind of dangled a job transfer in front of me at one point, and it didn't end up coming through. So then I decided, okay, I'm going to make it happen on my own, figure out how to get a visa sponsored, and really actually applied to like hundreds of jobs, got a few interviews and one offer, and that's all you need. So I'm an Italian citizen now, so I can stay doing the freelancing life. It's really, I love the city. I've always kind of had the dream to come back here after living in Europe in college. So I made it happen like 10 years later. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, congrats on making it happen.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so you've been in tech, right? Uber, Snap, Pollen.
Yeah.
And then you quit, right? Walk us through that. I mean, so many people, it's scary to quit. You don't know what's on the other side, especially with COVID going on. I mean, it's not necessarily easy. It's not the best job market. Tell us how you're able to do that. What was going through your mind?
That's a good one. I had a unique set of circumstances probably, but nothing, I mean, anyone can create these for themselves, but my set was I'm a coach as well. So I consult and coach. I'm, full-time self-employed doing many things that hold my interest. And I started coaching maybe just before the pandemic, but enrolled in a proper training, like a full intensive training, many-month training, June of last year, so just over a year ago. It takes like 4 to 5 months to get through this training. And I was like somewhat unhappy with my job. I liked what I was doing, but it was draining my energy, and I was getting more energy from doing this coaching and consulting work. So I had 3 things going at once. And my, Italian passport came through during the last module of this training. And, you're getting coached as you learn how to become a coach. And they were like, why don't you just quit? And I was like, quit now, quit this weekend. And I was like, you're right. There's no longer an excuse. Like, the only thing that was holding me there was sponsorship, which is unique, I think, to me. And most people don't even have that. The only thing holding you back is you. So I had some really strong accountability to put my notice in and just trust that, everything will work out. And I think entering into that new space is the hardest part. Once you're there, you're like, okay, I've got the time, the energy to figure out how to make this work. So a lot of people come to coaching for just that, taking the leap into consulting. So I love how the two kind of merge in my world. So yeah.
Yeah, very cool. I wrote down that quote, the only thing holding you back is you. I think it's
I mean, there's like a few like true things that can get in the way, like having to leave the country, which really was hard, but 99% of the time it's just you, and things are scary. Like these are very emotional decisions, even though you know it's professional. So yeah, having somebody to be like your cheerleader, whether that's a coach or you know just a friend, saying you can actually do this. You know, you've proven to yourself. You've accumulated the knowledge you need. You don't need any more. Like just do it and see what happens. Like there's no reason not to try, right?
right.
So,
I feel like we have a unique opportunity to talk about this because you are a coach, you've been through coaching, you've had a coach, right? You've been on all sides. I've had a coach as well.
yeah,
And you talk about needing that kind of champion, right? Someone that's going to tell you that you can do this, which is interesting, right? Because you're incredibly accomplished in your career, right? Like we worked together at Uber. I know what you were doing there. You went on to Snap and then the fast growing startup in Europe. I mean, you've done great things. And so a lot of people might look at someone like you and say, you don't need that, right? You're obviously going to be successful as a consultant or a coach or really whatever you do. But internally, I mean, walk us through, is that
yeah,
true? Or like, you know, what is that like?
yeah. I think it's true if you believe it's true. So that's the catch. Like you don't need to have worked at Uber or Snap. You need to believe that you can add value in the situations you want to add value, and you need to, um, you know, almost like not be hoping somebody sees that you're qualified. You know that you're qualified, um, and being able to assert that like uh, opinion of yourself is like thing I think that holds most people back. I was forced into my first consulting gig almost, which was helpful. My an old boss, like literally, it was like you need. He had invested in another company, and he's like, they really need this help. Like, basically, do it. Like, not literally, you have to, but it was like very much so like forced on me, and I didn't have a chance to question myself. He gave me that kind of confidence that I could do what they needed in a part time, like on like basis. I did need coaching to become a coach. I couldn't say the words "I am a coach" when I hadn't actually done the job yet. So same thing for consulting. Like I am a consultant. When you actually haven't done the first gig yet, that's like half the battle. If you can say, actually, no, I am a consultant. Like I can add value as a consultant. I have what it takes to be the consultant. So therefore, I am already. I think really moves people to that place of actually adding the value they want to way faster. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and then it sounds like, you know, once he was like, hey, can you please help this company out? Then you
Yeah.
saw that you could do it, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
You're, you know, after the fact, then it makes it so much, the confidence is there, as you said.
Yeah. It's that first bit of feedback. So, like, you know, how can you start to artificially get that feedback or like get it in a non-perfect way, maybe if you're thinking about becoming a consultant, like, I don't know, go just show somebody your work that doesn't actually work for the company you do and ask like what's interesting about this that you might not have considered before. You know, soft pitch them your skills and just see what they say. It can be a friend, right? Someone who understands your field to some degree. But yeah, like it's just about getting a tiny sliver of feedback you can hold on to really get you like going that first time. And then, yeah, you really see the impact of what you do and how it really helps, you know, other businesses. And that itself should, well, fuels me. I would assume it fuels most consultants as well. That kind of keeps you going. And it's lovely it feels like a give back kind of piece type of work when it's, you know, still for profit, I guess, for me.
So maybe an easy way is you go help out a friend. You
Mm,
can show your
yeah.
work or just offer to help. And then you get that taste, as you said, just that little bit of feedback where once you're able to help them, you see that you can do this. They're like, wow, thank you so much. And then, sure, then you have to go get another client, but the confidence to say, I am a consultant is
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, or like I usually recommend even like charge some nominal amount, like
Mm.
$20. like, hey, friend, like I specialize in this. I'm going to ask you for $20 to give you this advice, work product, whatever it is that you're interested in doing. Because there's a small value exchange there. They have to actually consider, do I even want to spend $20? And you're giving them something worth probably significantly more than $20, but they enter into that relationship intentionally, and you are actually getting something in exchange for your work. So maybe $20 and a testimonial would be like something that work a little bit better. It gives you that longer term return as well. But I feel like that's actually such a powerful thing. Like doing things for purely like nothing should be like an option when you want to do pro bono work, but like get that validation that someone's even willing to pay you something. It's very powerful to know that you are worth more than free, even if it's just $20. So yeah.
Awesome. I love it. So I want to go back. So you're in London, you're kind of being held to this company because of the visa situation, but you're not happy, right? You said work was exhausting you. So tell us I know you signed up for a coaching program, but what was the thought process there? Because there's so many people that are unhappy in their jobs, but they don't really know what to do about it, or they feel like, there's nothing I can do, which we of course know is really an excuse, but you're unhappy. You decide to make this change. What do you do?
Yeah. It actually was a little bit before that. That was like a further down the line thing. It was actually the winter before. I was like, you know what? I want to do these things. I want to have freedom, I think was what I wanted. Like freedom to set my own hours. My last company was actually great. They were very flexible, but I felt like I could get the work done they were asking me to do in significantly less time than they thought. So I was like, well, but I still have to show up for work 40 hours a week or however many when I can do the work in 25 or 30. So I'm just like, that was the draining bit, those 15 dead hours a week where I just had to look busy. So in that time, sorry, Paulin, I think they'd be relatively supportive of this anyways, though. So, in that time I was like, okay, I'm going to build myself a website. So I started to like build this coaching website, build a consulting website. I had them mixed to start, basically these things I was passionate about doing on the side. And I built it all internally, like I did it myself. And then I was like, how do I actually like put this out in the world? Like that was actually my first hurdle, was like starting to tell people that I wanted to do something different than I was doing now, like have a different almost identity of like, full-time employee to becoming this like self-employed woman who is her own boss and wants to make a really big impact, like totally different narrative, right? So that was actually what I ended up doing first, was like rewriting my narrative with a coach, not the coach I have now, a different one. And we did, a few months, took me up to the start of the pandemic, of where I was rewriting my narrative, rewriting my like, when I go see, family over the holidays at Christmas, how do I tell them what I do? So that was my first step. And then that opened up, okay, like I have this new identity. How do I like exponentially grow in it? And that was where I decided, okay, I'm going to invest significant amount of money in a coaching program to help me on that side. Whereas consulting, I was, as I said, pushed into. So I needed to invest in the side I wasn't pushed into. So same for consulting. If you're not pushed into it, you likely need to invest in some way to help you really exponentially move through imposter syndrome and the knowledge curve and the hairy things that just, it's easier for someone to tell you how to do them, which Mylance does the boot camp. And I think that's so great, because you really do have to figure all that out. And it's not what you're necessarily passionate about. Admin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many questions from that. First one being, so you build this website, right? You're kind of commingling coaching and consulting, which in a way, coaching is a kind of consulting, right?
Yeah, it's freelancing. Yeah.
How do you get the website out there? Like what do you do to promote yourself of like, hey, I'm Kelly and I'm doing XYZ?
Yeah, that piece of it I'm a bit better about, which is because my work is in some level of marketing or customer experience. So Yeah, I built it on Wix myself. Did PMing as well. I've done everything. So like, that technical side of it wasn't hard for me. But that's such a fun exercise to like figure out what your narrative is, right? Like when you're thinking about what is my narrative, building a website and not even sharing it with anybody and just having that place to play was really powerful. And then one day I was like, okay, I'm just putting this on LinkedIn, like, post it, see what happens. And like LinkedIn loves those posts, like an announcement. So you get all this positive feedback, like tons of likes, tons of comments, tons of DMs, like people just like congratulating you on like taking any step towards something that like we're here, like so many people want to do it. And that feedback, keeps you going for a little longer and do something a little bit, more difficult again. Think something that pushes you outside your comfort zone, and then you get some other, positive feedback from that. And that's the cycle I feel like you find yourself in when you're going down this like untrodden, less trodden path of freelancing.
Yeah, I had no idea the power of LinkedIn until I left Uber, made one of those posts, right?
Yeah.
And it got something like 40,000 views on the post, and it blew me away. I was just like, holy crap, there's this whole audience out there that it can see what I write on LinkedIn. And it sounds like you had a similar thing when you posted this. Hey, I'm consulting, here's my website.
Authenticity on LinkedIn is really recognized, and their algorithm is like, it's almost like the TikTok algorithm where it's like very indiscriminate. Like it doesn't matter who you are. If you write something worth reading, everybody's going to see it. So I think that's what I've learned from LinkedIn is like, say what you're really feeling and people will recognize that. And yeah, the more authentic you can be, the more you're going to get the feedback you're probably hoping for, even though it's hard to be authentic in like the online world sometimes, especially the professional online world. So I've gone through my own journey of that, but it's a baby steps, just start with something and then you can get more and more real, the more and more comfortable you get bearing your soul on the internet.
Yeah. I also tell folks, if you post something and it doesn't do well, which is very likely, right? A lot of my posts get nothing. Nobody sees it. Right?
Yeah,
it's like my best posts are tens of thousands of views and my worst posts are a few hundred. No one saw it.
Yeah. And the interesting thing as well is like I've been doing some like market research and people are saying, yeah, I read every one of your posts, but they don't actually react or like or comment. And I'm like, oh, my impression is people aren't resonating with the message when actually they just didn't take the time to press a button. So like you should put out what you feel is worth putting out as long as it's, got something behind it. People are like, they are understanding it, internalizing it. And who knows, they might mention it to somebody else. And that's the power like of word of mouth, all of that. So it's a really hard to press post that first time, but it gets easier. Definitely.
Yeah. I think the key too is you're doing it for you, right? As you said, you're not doing it for them and for the feedback. And so if you're putting out authentic, genuine, hopefully vulnerable, I think vulnerable is where I've had the most success on LinkedIn, which is very hard to do. So tell us about what you're up to now. So you've gone through this consulting or this coaching course, you've quit your job, you're consulting, you've had a few clients. Like what's going on now?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the nail on the head there. Like I've got about 20 coaching clients and every other week. So about 10 hours of coaching a week. And I've got a consulting gig that's about 5 to 10 hours a week. And the other 20 hours of work a week is actually me getting to be creative, which is like the thing that I've actually loved the most about this quitting my job and creating my own schedule is I don't have to fill it all with work. I pay the bills, like I'm covering everything with that amount of work, which is again, power of setting your own rates and stuff like that. But yeah, my creativity is going towards like the area of, what are people struggling with at work? The concept of work baggage is what I'm unpacking at the moment, like relationship baggage. What do you take from job to job that kind of sticks with you? And how could we start to invest in resetting in between roles or consulting even, right? Like, don't let what's happened to you in a past life come into the next life unless you want it there. So yeah, really just taking that time to, like, these are my professional interests and hobbies, and not letting that bleed over into my fun time is lovely. So yeah.
Yeah, sounds like you've designed and created this work life for you that's really exactly what you imagined.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there'll be moments where I work a full week again. But yeah, my true boundary is I don't work really on Fridays. Other than that, I'm fairly flexible, and things will, get busier or less busy as, it's seasonal, a lot of this work. And I'm happy to flex up and down, but I love that space to just read books, to read articles, to talk to people, just like you have the time to just learn in a way that you wouldn't when you come back at 6, 7 after a work day. You're just knackered and you don't want to do anything. My Britishisms are coming out, knackered and exhausted. So yeah, I really, really value that, and I just don't see a way of having that in working for a company.
Yeah.
So.
No, absolutely. The 20 coaching clients, that's a lot. Where did you find those folks?
Honestly, like the most random of places. I work with one agency, which kind of is like my baseline, and that's a lot of startup leadership coaching, which is lovely. Like the overhead of finding clients, just as in consulting, isn't necessarily what you love doing the most. So I like to just have some that are coming in without doing the selling myself. But on the private client side, I mean, probably one of the more random stories is I actually interviewed someone when I was working at Poland who ended up being a client of mine after I quit. It was a very strange way of meeting somebody. But even like I was getting some blood work done today at the hospital, and the woman was like, actually, I need some career coaching. Can I get in touch with you? I was like, I mean, yeah, like, my name because you're taking the blood work. Sure. So like, I think it's talking about what you do and are passionate about in places where it might not feel completely appropriate that actually leads to authentic connection in the real world, just like you would on LinkedIn. Like, some of my clients come from online, definitely, but I find the ones that come from the weirdest of places to be super fascinating. So we'll see if she reaches out, but yeah, they come from everywhere. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's as you said, it's when you're connecting with people, whether it's online or in the real world, and they're like, oh, what do you do? And they have this somewhat of emotional connection with you, even if it's very at the beginning, in a quick conversation. And they're like, oh, I'm an executive coach or I'm a leadership coach. Then it's like, oh, well, I have this emotional connection. I feel like you're someone I could trust. You have this background.
Yeah.
And you give it a shot, right?
Yeah, I think the thing that I'm starting to notice is because I've been doing it for long enough, I'm very articulate in what it does, like what the impact is, both for consulting and coaching. It's like I can say it in a line or two. This is what problem I solve, and it makes it easier for people to know, yes, this is my problem, or no, it's not a problem I have. And that's just a recent shift that I've observed as I'm speaking, and people like immediately say, oh yeah, that makes sense, or oh, that I don't understand that or need that, but I know people who do. So really like getting that resonant message down. I didn't intentionally try that, but you obviously naturally figure out how people react to what you're saying, and keep doing more of what people respond to.
Yeah, it sounds like you're really great at reading people and reading the situation and then being able to connect with whatever is going on for them.
I am trained in listening, so that probably has helped. Yeah, no, but that's what coaching is. It's just listening, expert listeners. So yeah, reading people is a superpower of mine, probably.
Awesome. Cool. As we wrap up, what is one learning or sharing that you'd like to share with our audience, specifically someone who's maybe wanting to freelance or a brand new freelancer that doesn't know what they're doing or they're kind of lost? What would you share with them?
Yeah. I think it's along the lines of you can't know it until you know it. So stop worrying about what you don't know. You're going to make mistakes along the way, like big and small, of things that you probably feel like you could have foreseen or could have planned for. And even if you spend all that time, you're still going to run into, it's a human interaction you're dealing with. You have clients. You can't guess what other humans are going to want, need. It's just how you can handle that. So I would say just prepare yourself for the unpreparable. Like know that things are gonna just unfold as they will, and maybe even be excited about that. Like it's an adventure you get to go on, and make it your own adventure, and you can choose to see this as something exciting and fun rather than daunting or intimidating. So yeah.
Cool. Love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your insights. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it was lovely chatting and great to virtual face to face.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we're going to wrap up. Where can our viewers find you if they're looking for you?
Yeah, kelly-snodgrass.com or LinkedIn, wherever you can find my name online.
Okay, and we'll post a link to your website in the comments as well.
Okay,
Cool.
awesome.
Well, thanks so much. Thanks so much, Kelly. You too.
Yeah, speak soon.
All right.